So, with the recent news of Supergirl flopping and just the overall fan discourse, it just made me question whether this was the DCU's first breaking point. So, in this video, I'm going to go over why I think it's not the catastrophe that everybody thinks it is. And I'm also going to point out that it's actually a much worse issue that the DCU needs to fix before Man of Tomorrow. But with all that yapping out the way, let's dive into this. So my general thoughts on the movie was that I think it's just mid. The plot of this movie is just very generic, your classic revenge quest story. And going into this movie, I just thought it was going to be a fun movie because I didn't expect this movie to be this major piece in the cinematic universe besides enhancing the Kryptonian backstory. And honestly, that's what it did. It reaffirmed the whole Kryptonian twist that was established in Superman, which I still don't think was the best decision. Hopefully, Man of Tomorrow sets things in the right direction with that. But as for Millie Alcock as Supergirl, I think she was the biggest highlight slash standout because she embodies a roughness to the character that we haven't seen since probably Sasha Calle's Supergirl, unfortunately for her. And it really did showcase the difference between her and Superman, especially with the whole he sees the good in people while I see the truth line. I think that nailed the difference between the two really well. Ruth, I felt bad for her in the comic. It was just her father that was killed by Krem, whereas in this movie it's more tragic because it's her whole family instead. And I think it just added weight to her decision of not killing him. I think it just made that decision even more impactful. Krem as a villain was honestly just doing too much to be quirky. I didn't buy it. And honestly, his death was unexpected, but at the same time, I didn't really care for it. Jason Momoa as Lobo was perfect casting. Like 10 out of 10. He embodies this character more than Aquaman, especially in how he looks. It's kind of funny how Zack Snyder never adapted Lobo, considering he's the type of character that you would definitely see Zack Snyder put in. And honestly, it kind of makes me wonder what a Zack Snyder-led Lobo solo film would have looked like. He wasn't in the movie as much as I thought he'd be, but in all honesty, I think it's fine for this movie. I just hope we get to see this character again. He was definitely one of the standouts, along with Millie Alcock as Supergirl and Ruthie. So while the visuals did land, especially when Kara was screaming in space, and in all honesty, anytime they were in space, I thought the visuals were really good and really well done. The planet with the green kryptonite sun, I thought that was visually striking. But other than those two settings, everything just looks dull, brown. It just looks like it smells terrible. And it honestly sucks because the comic is probably one of the most colorful comics I've ever read. I think the visuals really help sell the idea of just traveling across the universe. And honestly, I probably would have just been bitter and been able to move on if it wasn't for the fact that the director literally says this.
And I gave them my vision of what this was. I actually specifically stayed away from Tom King's book. I really wanted to go off of the script. There was a grit to the script and a messiness and an edge that I wanted to capture that I felt like I hadn't seen in space movies.
And literally, that's what almost made me drop my score for this movie, which was a 7.5 out of 10. But that interview almost made me drop it to a 5 or a 6. Because why would you willingly hire somebody that just doesn't even respect the source material like that? So overall, the movie was a 7.5. I don't think it's the best, but it's definitely not the worst, and it's definitely not worse than The Flash or Morbius, which honestly is just a travesty because those are generally the worst superhero movies ever. The acting is terrible in Morbius, and the visuals in The Flash look way worse than Supergirl because I can forgive dull backgrounds versus something that I have to wash my eyes out. So like, those were my general thoughts on the movie itself. It did not deserve to bomb at the box office as bad as it did. Maybe closer to Black Adam level, but not Morbius. And honestly, this movie created a worse problem for the DCU because it's not terrible. And it just highlights the whole plan that James Gunn made, which is that he does not understand the general audience at all. Now, look, I am not clowning him or dissing him as a director or creative. He gave us the best superhero team trilogy in the MCU, and he redeemed one of the worst films in the DCEU, and he made possibly the best Superman movie we've ever gotten since Christopher Reeve. So I'm not knocking him for anything, but it's just when you look at the slate and the priorities that he put in place, it just baffles me, and it honestly makes sense why things are going downhill as they are. Lanterns is a TV show instead of a movie. Hal Jordan is older than he should be, and honestly has me worried for his fate in Lanterns. Wonder Woman has gotten a film announced, but we don't know anything other than the fact that it's happening. No significant updates. She's not even getting an animated series, which is crazy. We don't know when Brave and the Bold is coming out, and the only significant update is more so casting rumors. Apparently Tom Brittney's up for the role of Bruce Wayne. That should be interesting. We're getting Clayface and a Jimmy Olsen show where Gorilla Grodd is the main villain. And then we're getting a ton of other Batman animated series. And it's like, what are we doing at DC Studios? Again, it just makes sense why things aren't going well. You're not relying on your heavy hitter in this era of films. Movie tickets are going up, so audience interest in a new idea is going to go down unless it's something familiar. We're not in the 2010s decade anymore where you can't just create a new IP and expect it to do as well as an established one. And I think that's really where James Gunn's head is at. So in order to fix this, he should really fast track Wonder Woman, Flash, Batman, and the Justice League into production. And what I mean by that is he should give priority to those projects rather than these side projects, especially that Wonder Woman animated series, because how come she's never gotten an animated series, but we've gotten a Kite Man series, a Harley Quinn series that Kite Man spun off from, and we've gotten Creature Commandos that set up this universe. And it's even crazier because her second most iconic villain after Cheetah debuted in that show. And I have no problems with Creature Commandos, but it's just a mid show. Hopefully season 2 is much better. But James Gunn just needs to give priority to the heavy hitters and give us a true direction, because we can't have Marvel Phase 4 projects in Phase 1. And I say this as a Marvel fan. I want DC to do better. I want a healthy competition between them. We've never gotten to see Marvel and DC cinematic universe history in their primes together. We've only seen the MCU at its peak, but the DCU is already floundering. But if they're able to fix this issue before Man of Tomorrow next year, they're like Batman and Wonder Woman are coming out within the next 2 years. If they are able to announce that, then that would be great, because then at the very least the general audience has faith in this universe. And I think if you do that, the DCU will thrive for as long as James Gunn wants it to thrive. But to wrap things up, I do think Supergirl as a movie is not as bad as it was. I think it just came too late because we're at a point in time where we can't just afford to bank on side characters in the movies. And especially considering DC's last cinematic universe, they can't really afford any mediocre projects anymore. So if you like this video, go check out another one and subscribe to keep up to date with the next video I post on the channel. So yeah, see you guys.